Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of our Stars and Stripes and Maple Syrup. Before we get started today, don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button. It's somewhere around here, maybe over here. Today we have with us Pete Beck and NASA's own John Ellington. Guys, thank you very much for stopping by.
Thanks for having us, Gavin. Glad to be here.
So we're doing this one live from the NASA get-together in Toronto. I saw the picture you guys posted at the kickoff. How was turnout today?
Probably 12 or 14, maybe.
Yeah,
it was a good crowd, Gavin. A really nice to match the faces with the names.
It's a shame the match was shit, then, isn't it?
Yeah. Tough to watch, buddy.
I mean, we can sit and talk about anything other than football, and I think everybody watching would be happy with that.
Well, it's there's a lot of things to touch base on, and I know you're good at this, but I will tell you it just wasn't pretty from really beginning to the end. There wasn't a whole lot of highlights.
That's a nice way to put it. So look, let's start with the beginning. I thought the display in the North Stand for the Remembrance Day was impeccable. The behavior of the fans during the silence was impeccable. And then that's basically where the fun ended for me today.
The only real cheer, I think, Gavin, realistically, was when the penalty was saved. And I know we'll get to that, but that was the only real positive note here in the at the get-together, the meet and greet.
I mean, first couple of minutes started off okay. I take notes during the game. So first 5 minutes, we seemed to be on the front foot, and then we just stopped. And then
they seemed to have decent possession in the first couple minutes of the game, and you thought, well, they'll work it around, find some link up, and have a decent shot at goal. And that just never happened. There was no midfield presence whatsoever after like minute 10.
No, and we'll come to the midfield issue in a little while, because I'm going to say words that I never thought I'd say in public.
I know what it is.
I know you know what it is. You on the chat. Well, look, let's talk about the back pass from Bailey Wright that caused the problem in the first place. For me, this was symptomatic of everything poor that Sunderland did today. There was no movement off the ball. The passes weren't being hit crisply. We were behind the player, and this has been symptomatic of Sunderland definitely since Mowbray came in. I hadn't noticed it under Neil, but passes are consistently being hit behind the player's run, which causes us to slow the play down. And so between lack of movement and terrible passing, you're in a situation where your defenders are having to spread the ball sideways across themselves. I don't know what Wright was thinking with his pass. And for me, it looked as though Bath was in front of the Cardiff defender, and the Cardiff defender tripped over Bath's legs. So I don't understand how that's a penalty.
Well, I have to tell you that two things, if I can jump in. I know the last time you and I did this last year, we were having the same discussions about the passes going. I don't know. I know you probably don't remember that, but that was one of the discussions we had when we were in our lowest point last spring. Is the passes were to the back of the player, and that never worked. So that's deja vu with the two of us on this podcast. And also, that was perhaps the worst pass in the history of Sunderland. Bailey Wright's pass was horrible.
I'll definitely say we've had worse passes. I'm almost certain. I think back to the John O'Shite and Wes Brown days.
Oh yeah,
there were some pretty awful passes, including multiple own goals. So, but from what I thought wasn't a penalty, because I didn't think it was a foul. I thought it was a coming together, and these things happen in a contact sport, and there doesn't have to be a decision either way. I thought it was a terrible decision. It was a cracking save from Patterson to give us some hope in the game. The ball was hit nicely. It was a nice height for him, and he dived well. But he was outstretched and palms the ball away and keeps the interest in the first half.
Yeah. Well, that was the highlight of the match.
Pete, do you want to talk? John's hugging the line right here.
Well, he likes to talk though, so
I'm just trying to keep the trains rolling there, Gavin.
I thought that back to the pass, I thought that was indicative of passes that happened throughout the rest of the first half and then into the second. in that it seemed when the wing got the ball, when the fullback got the ball, there was a lack of ideas of where to put it. Held it as soon as you're holding a ball and not, sitting it to the next person that should possess it. You're asking the defense to close you down, and I think Sunderland was inviting pressure. They didn't have to. I don't know why that is, and I think maybe to your point, I don't know if it's a managerial switch or what, but that's not the way that you want your backs to be playing. You want that ball out and go. It's way too slow, way too slow.
I completely agree. Now, there was a highlight other than the penalty save in the first half, and that was when Luke O'Nien took took one to the old family jewels.
Yes, that got a good round of applause, or not applause, but a good round of laughs here.
I'm sure Mrs. O'Nien wasn't as happy, but my opinion of O'Nien seems to be dropping week on week. Mm-hmm. Clearly, he's not a central defender. He's not a right back. I don't think he's good enough to sit in midfield and play in midfield with this team. I honestly think with Gooch back, and I mean, Tri Hume's got to be sat on the bench there thinking, what the hell do I have to do if this is what I can't get past? Is John scrolling porn on his phone?
No. I was trying to see what Roker, they gave him 5 out of 10 today. So I was seeing what
that was generous. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's generous too.
It wasn't his best match for sure. So
look, half an hour in, and I made the following notes: no pressing, slow passing, terrible movement. And that was the nicest thing I could say in the first half, because 5 minutes later I wrote absolute shite, screaming for Corey Evans. Now, I never thought a Sunderland match would scream for Corey Evans. But look, I don't think you can play Dan Neil in that holding role at all. He's not the physical presence. He gives up stupid bookings, like his booking today was stupid. He's not a midfield enforcer. I think he's someone you play alongside a Corey Evans or a Jay Matete, but he's not the answer to them.
But you think, before we get this on the record, it's clear that you believe that Corey Evans might be the answer for the rest of the season. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that, and we'll come to that in the wrap up at the end. But for this team right now, Corey Evans is the best solution we have as a holding midfield player.
Hold on a second.
Hey, Corey Evans is the best solution we have to the holding midfield player, according to somebody on a podcast.
I think we'll be noting that down and making sure that that's attributed to you, Gavin.
It's
posterity.
We couldn't really catch what Rebecca said on but yeah, look, I'm saying it after was it? This is episode 35, and I'm finally being nice to Corey Evans.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be limited niceness because I have things to say towards the end. But yeah, look, if you're going to play, I thought Barr was okay, but Barr with Evans or Neil with Evans or Embleton with Evans is a much better option. I think Evans clearly allows the other players to be a little bit more creative, get a little bit further forward, and takes a little bit of that worry and stress off their shoulders. So, yeah, John, just move your head back to your left. That was your right. There we go. So Dan Neil today was absolute gash. For me, there were only 3 highlights in the first half if we're taking the shot to the nuts on 09. It was Pado's penalty save, and Ahmad had the shot in the first half. And the problem that we had with that attack, it was a nice attack, but again, it was slowed down by misplaced passing. I think it was Sims who had the ball first. If he'd hit that crisply straight to Ahmad and cut out Roberts, that would have been a goal. I have no doubt in my mind that would have been a goal. But by knocking it to Roberts and letting Roberts then underhit the pass to Ahmad, I just think it slowed the attack down too much.
I completely agree, but to play devil's advocate, when you make 4 changes from 3 days ago, I don't know how exactly that's supposed to look. Because to me, if you make 4 changes, especially with link-up players, you're asking for trouble. Because it slows everything down. They're not anticipating where the next move is, where the next player's going. And I think when you put Evans in then, at the 60, I guess it's 55-minute mark or so, you saw the difference. They could anticipate where they were going at that point.
I mean, look, you raise a good point, but the ungodly amount of football that these lads have had to play from the end of July to what is the beginning of November. This was our 17th league game of the season. I mean, I'm glad we'd binned the League Cup because that would have been even worse. But it's another example of how farcical having the World Cup in November is, and how poorly planned it is by FIFA, and how it's purely a money grab on behalf of FIFA and not done for the spectacle of sport at all.
Let me ask you a question, Gavin and Pete. So Ellis Sims was a ghost today for the most part. Do you blame that on any one particular player on the Sunderland side? Because he was pretty non-existent.
Tony Mowbray.
Okay.
I think, I mean, and look, we'll come to it in a second. I think as a manager, if you can't see from the sideline how bad things are, and I mean, we could see it from Toronto and Virginia Beach, so I don't know why Mowbray can't see it, or why he hasn't got somebody up in the stands who's radioing down to him and saying, look, we're getting run ragged here. The way Sunderland have been successful this season is when we've pressed the ball higher up the field. And there were a number of times in that first half. It nearly cost us when I watched Dan Neil just run back and not go to the player. The player picked up the ball in his own half and was allowed to go to the edge of the Sunderland area before Neil stood up. Mm-hmm. Just not tracking back. I mean, I say this more often than not, but Gooch has his limitations as a player. He likes to run down a one-way avenue. His crossing definitely needs improvement, and I'm shocked that they don't work on that more. Sometimes his passing needs to be a bit more deliberate. But the one thing no one will say about Gooch is that he doesn't get back and defend when he loses the ball. Mm-hmm. All too often today, Neil, Pritchard, Roberts, Clark, just not getting back and helping the defense out. I think towards the end of that first half, it was right at the end. It was Clark who gave the ball up, and it wasn't until play cycled back and Cardiff was still in possession that he came back to a position you could class as defensive, and even then he was only walking back. I understand he's not a defensive player, and nobody wants Clark in there helping out in the back. You want him higher up the field, being able to run at players, cutting in or whipping the crosses in. And for me, it was just the lack of getting back, the lack of urgency in our play today that cost us.
Yeah.
But on the bright side, we're going to be forced into a change against Birmingham on Tuesday or Wednesday night. On a Friday it is, isn't it?
Friday, TV, yeah.
Because right at the end of the first half, O'Neill decided to give a stupid kick out at the behind him, which got his 5th booking of the season, and so he's out. Mm-hmm. So hopefully Try Hume can have a good game, because I thought Hume played well against Burnley. I thought he was a little bit lackadaisical in the challenge that led to the 3rd goal. But overall, he had a good performance. So I'd like to see him back. Obviously, now that we've got updates on injuries, it looks as though none of the players who were out today through injury will be risked on Friday. So they're all out now until end of November, beginning of December. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, look, Cardiff should have been out of sight by halftime. I don't think we could have had much of a complaint if they were 2 or 3-0 up by halftime. And it was mentioned that the link-up play from back to front was just non-existent. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because you've got O'Neill, Bath, and Wright, who like to spray the ball sideways, and none of them seem to want to take the the initiative and make a forward pass, then we get pressured, and it ends up leaving the Patterson to clear it.
The frustrating part for me too, Gavin, was if you're not going to press, and they had pressed a little bit, if you're not going to do that consistently, you should at least be in position that you don't have to necessarily track back. You should be there basically already, or at least somewhere around it. And we didn't do that even. Like you said, they could just move the ball from box to box with basically no one getting in their way.
And I think Danny Collins mentioned that on the international feed as well. In that we made it far too easy for Cardiff to be able to get through our midfield and to our defense. Like I said, there were a number of times when I watched players just let players just no urgency in meeting the play.
Mm-hmm.
Again, look, to some extent, I'll relieve Roberts and Clark of some of the blame on that, because it's not really their role. It's not really what they're about. But all in all, I just thought we were awful in the first half. And as I say, Cardiff should have been out. Our build-up play was just too slow. We were inviting Cardiff to pressure, and the pressure's coming in that first third of our field.
Yes,
which is why we had nothing going forward, because we were making bad decisions and panic decisions from the off.
Yeah, how many groans did you have with horrible passes the first half?
So it's always telling in my house when I've got the match on. Like the way my room is set up is this room is set up above our garage, and then we have a stair down to the kitchen, and then one goes out to the bedroom. So it's kind of halfway between upstairs and down. And my wife was making lunch for her father, and she's listening to me moan and groan. And I think it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. And she's like, what's the matter? I'm like, Sunderland. She went, oh, that explains it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this season hasn't been a lot of that. I mean, I haven't had to curse much during the match. I mean, I'll do it even on my own, watching it on my own TV. But it hasn't really had that need this season. We've been reasonable this season. But that first half was just painful to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So then we've got the second half. And you expect, so halftime, you expect Mowbray to kind of, I don't know whether delivering a rollicking or encouraging.
I expected there to be changes, and that I don't know why he didn't change anybody at halftime, then waited 15 minutes to do it after.
I couldn't understand why Neil came back on for the second half. I mean, that should have been Evans from the second half, and yeah, I'm saying it again. Evans should have been on earlier. But again, we started. All right. So when Mowbray was appointed as Sunderland manager, for me it was a very uninspiring appointment. And look, he'll have my support, but I'm not going to hide from the fact that I don't think he's the right man for the job. I think there are better options out there. And I think I made the comment at the time that hiring Mowbray as manager is like going to a brothel and getting an unenthusiastic wank from a woman with rough hands.
There you go.
You were just saying that analogy. Pete, you said, yeah. So there you go.
And so today, and I said this after I said this earlier in the season as well. I changed my position on that because I think that's wrong. I think Mowbray as manager is like getting a hand job off your mom. It gets the job done, but you're full of shame.
He's reading my mind.
Yeah, you were like the conversation in the car from Pennsylvania up here. It's like you were there, yes. Like Pete was saying the same thing.
So for me, he's not a manager that what I liked about football under Alex Neil was the press. We played a high press. Yeah. We played with a lot of energy, and we were attacking minded. Now I feel as though that's changed to we'll sit back and we'll hope to hit them on the break, and it's just not as much fun to watch.
Well, that, and I don't think the personnel of the team he put on the field today was capable of doing that. So
no, I
players to do things they can't do.
No, because as I say, with the lack of movement in midfield and forward play, it meant the defenders were having to be pressured. Yeah, I mean, it was bad. But then to start the second half off so slowly and go one down to what was an awful goal to concede. And for me, if Luke O'Nien had spent as much time and passion defending that ball as he did about appealing for its offside, it would have been a 0-0 draw.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was culpable there. I felt he just hadn't came out from the second half. So that was 5 minutes in the second half, and still it took another 5 minutes before Mowbray decided, right, this isn't working.
Right.
Yeah.
How much more evidence do you need? You had 45 minutes or almost 50 minutes in the first half.
The pep talk at half obviously didn't work, so make some changes.
So Evans came on for Neil, which was the obvious replacement. I felt a little down. I would have kept Bar on a little bit longer. I think with Evans coming in to show up and help out the defense, it would have given Bar a little bit more time to get on the ball. It would have given him a bit more time to do what he does. But Pritchard came on, and Pritchard was largely anonymous for his appearance. And then at the hour mark, you notice the time wasting starting.
Yeah.
Ball goes out for a goal kick, and the keeper decides to get a drink of his water, and then go to the other side of the goal to take the kick. And I understand that it's part of football, but fuck me, it's dull to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it only seems to be when we do it that it becomes an issue for referees.
But yeah, this year consistently that's happened. That's exactly right. Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, for me, the highlights of the game pretty much ended at that point. I mean, 70 minutes, I think it was, Bennett came on, and he looked lively. And for a little while, we started to press. We started to harry their defense, and they didn't look as though they were going to keep a clean sheet. I thought at one point we were going to go and do something. Then he brings off Sims, which you can understand bringing Sims off because you don't want to work him too hard in his outcome. You'd like to have him for another 60 to 90 minutes against Birmingham on Friday. But you bring Embleton on, and then you're left with a forward lineup of Ahmad, Roberts. Was Roberts still on the field then? I think he was.
Yeah.
Clark, Bennett, and Embleton. And not one of them is more than 5'7".
Right.
But what do? We start crossing the ball into the box. We put in 13 crosses in the 20 minutes after Sims came off.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And Sims must have been sat on the bench going, what the hell do I have to do to get these balls? Like,
right.
If these balls came into me when I was on the pitch, it would have given me a chance. I could have run on for the head. But it just made no sense at all. And then obviously, at the same time that Sims goes off, Cardiff sees on that opportunity to bring Ojo off at the other end and bring on a fifth defender. So they're now at 5-4-1. And even at 5-4-1, I still think they look more offensive-minded than we were.
Agreed.
Yeah.
They didn't look panicked when they got the ball. They seemed to know after the first, before the ball arrives, where it was supposed to go, who was the next logical place to put it. And I think Sunderland struggled with that all night. Even when they looked better toward the end of the game, maybe from the 75th minute on, where they're actually producing offensively, it was still a struggle inside the box.
No, I agree with you. And the one thing I've said, and the one thing I've been watching this season, obviously when you do something like this, you got to kind of watch the game a little bit closer and spend a little less time screaming at the screen. But I've noticed just how frequently the ricochets inside the box, whether we're defending or attacking, seldom seem to go to a player in red and white. Like there are a couple of opportunities that, or a couple of instances this afternoon where the ball ricocheting inside the box just ends up at the feet of a Cardiff player. And it's like, and is it just that we're not positioning ourselves from an attacking perspective, or as a team are we just being unlucky with those deflections? Will they level themselves out over the course of the game?
It could also, I noticed just, in that last 15-minute stretch that there were a lot of direct runs as opposed to trying to juke or set your defender up a little bit. They were just running right to where the pass should be as opposed to putting some distance between themselves and the defender. And that makes it easy for the defender. All you got to do is play the passing lane. And Cardiff was adept at doing that inside the box today. So even if it was a deflection, even if they caught it right off the pass, There was not an opportunity for Sunderland to get any, I don't know, meaningful touches inside that 6-yard box.
I think what Cardiff did really well today is they crowded us down the channels when we did have the ball. Mm-hmm. How many times did I watch Ahmad or Roberts or Clark running into 3 and 4 blue shirts? I still try to think they had the skill to get through those 4 shirts. I mean,
and that's how do you do that? You know, it's nearly impossible.
Unless you've got ball skills like Lionel Messi, and we know none of our team do, then it's not happening.
Yep.
And that's the frustrating part of watching us these last, I would say since the 2 strikers went out, that's been my biggest frustration watching us since we lost Stewart, is we're taking too many touches from the forwards. We're too afraid to have dirty shots and unclean hits at the ball, and we're taking too many shots to get to that perfect view of the goal. Mm-hmm. And invariably it means that we're not getting shots off. And when you're at home to a team like Cardiff, you should have more than 2 shots on target.
And to even compound that point, it starts pouring, and we don't even put a shot on the goal, that a low liner, a bumper, anything like that. We don't even attempt to make the goaltender, goaltend, on a wet ball and a wet track. It made no sense.
All right, for those of you watching in England or who are English, goaltending is goalkeeping.
Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, look, it was an awful match. From a statistic point of view, we bossed possession. I mean, it was 60-40 in possession, but the bulk of that possession was in our own third. Mm-hmm. We had no big chances at all during the game. I don't remember the Cardiff keeper having a serious save to make all game.
And I think that possession flipped towards the latter part of the first half and the second, because it was like 45, 55 or 40, whatever, about 30
Cardiff
minutes.
We're just inching it over at halftime.
Yep.
But again, 2 shots on target in 90 minutes at home.
Well, not good enough. You know what? That honestly, as Gary Bennett says 3,000 times, when we were in League One, is just a lack of quality. How many times did you hear him say that on the broadcast? And that's what it was today, lack of quality, period.
So I got to be honest, I never listened to Benno and Barnsley. It's too much of a faff on trying to get the international radio stream and the actual pictures synced up for me. So I put up with Danny and Frankie. But
there's a special place in heaven for you.
But yeah, I mean, look, what game was I watching earlier in the week where the rain was such? Was it our game earlier in the week against Huddersfield when the game was the ball? You could hardly see the play for the rain, and even then, the reticence to shoot. I mean, when the ball's that slippery and conditions are that bad, I'd be like, we were always told playing as kids is don't be afraid to test the keeper in bad conditions, because all it's got to do is just be a little bit too wet, get a nasty deflection, hold up in the mud, and it's gonna cause the keeper some issues. And again, 2 shots in 90 minutes at home it's just not on.
Not gonna win that way.
No, and I mean, look, if we're honest, we knew we'd have games like this, games where we didn't play particularly well, and we'd get beat, and we'd be pissed off. But I'm not angry about the result. Like, Cardiff are a reasonable team. They'll turn other teams over much worse than turned us over today. But it's just the manner in which we played today for me. The lack of any kind of attacking mentality until it was too late, and the lack of cutting edge, and just the lack of effort more than anything else. Most of those players, I think, were already on their winter vacation trying to work out, well, am I going to go to the World Cup? Am I going to go to Dubai? And they were done. Like, that team has switched off.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a part of it. Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't have rescheduled this game against I wouldn't have played this game against Birmingham. This would have been the last game for me. I don't think other teams have a game next week, do they?
I don't know.
We'll have a look while we're talking. Well, we mentioned our friend Mr. Evans, and I said that I think he's the best option we have in central defense right now, which creates the most even side for us. It gives hope to the central defenders because they got somebody who's playing back with them. And I think the attacking players understand that they got someone extra there so they don't have to come back quite as aggressively. That said, I think we need to bring in a player in January to sit in that middle of the park. We need to spend some money. He needs to be older than 12. And that would be the difference maker for me in the second half of the season. I mean, obviously, we'd love to see a third striker, but I think any striker coming in realizes that Stewart's our automatic starter. Sims is his number 2. And so you really have to come in with a confident mindset to say, okay, I can get past Sims. I can challenge Stewart. And I don't think in the championship there are many out there.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting window. I'm still hopeful that we remain competitive and not fighting for relegation. And so that's what I'm hopeful for.
So look, I don't think we'll get relegated. I honestly don't. I think although today was frustrating, I think that there's enough in this squad that we don't have to worry about about relegation at all. I really don't.
I agree. I think especially if you do find that defender that can, cut the ball out, distribute it. I think I should say holding midfielder. I think you're in great shape. I think all the pieces are there. You just don't have that guy.
I mean, the problem is the table's so tight from 12 all the way down. So, a bad couple of matches and you've got problems. I don't think it's going to happen either. I hope not, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility if we don't start playing a little tighter and with a little bit more urgency and a little bit more quality. And tomorrow's another day, though.
But I think what Speakman and his team need to be doing right now in conjunction with the manager is taking a look at maybe players somewhere in between that 25 to 30 mark who are with Premier League teams who maybe aren't getting a regular football.
Mm-hmm.
Who may be coming up towards an end of a contract or be looking for a move in the summer to come down to the championship and really have a go with us. Or we need to spend some money and bring somebody in who'll do it for us permanently.
Do you think that'll happen?
Oh, do I think it'll happen? No. I think that ownership is trying to hold on to as much of their money as they can and trying to build up from the bottom without the outlay. I mean, I know we've got potential fees for Clark and for Roberts if they go on to be successful for us, and for Sirkin. And probably for Ballard and Alessi as well. So my understanding was Alessi was picked up for 250 grand. But I think this is where you go out and you try and pick up somebody, maybe not the most skillful player out there. I'm like, for me, this team is yelling out for a Lee Cattermole type player.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who will stamp his authority not only on the team, but on the game as well. And look, we all know that Cattermole wasn't the best player going forward. He was often cynical in the tackle. But when he was on that pitch, you could tell the difference in Sunderland team when he wasn't there. But when I look at players out there right now, I think the game's evolved to the point where there aren't that many Lee Cattermoles left.
Agreed.
So it's trying to work out, okay, well, what is left? What do we want? Jim Matete seems to be disappointing hugely from when he came in last season. He looked as though he was going to be a quality little player for us, and he's just disappeared. Not even getting starting time now.
No, I suspect he lacks a little bit of discipline too, from what I've seen this year.
So it's tough. I mean, as I say, I still think where we are now is round about where we'll finish at the end of the season. I don't see us really making a move up the table and threatening the playoffs. We would rather be circumcised with a wooden spoon than actually go through the playoffs. I don't see us being in a relegation dogfight either, though. So I think it's going to be the quiet, boring season that I asked for back in July.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, John, while we have you there, are you on a laptop? Are you on an iPad? What are you on?
We're on
a laptop.
All right, are you able to rotate the laptop so we can have a look around the bar and see the other Sunderland fans?
Most everybody has gone, believe it or
really?
not. We're meeting at 6 tonight, so a lot of people went home. There's just we can do a little bit.
Go ahead, John.
There's a few. Hold on, stand by.
Here you can hold on. There you go. Wait for the camera.
And there we go. So we got Justin, Rebecca, Mrs. We got Justin's Mrs. And I can't work out how is that to the other side of Justin.
Yeah, we have we're having another get together tonight at 6 and one at 8. So a lot of people went home, and and I just have to tell you, and I know you know this, Gavin, and I think Pete would agree. They rolled out the red carpet for the people that came from out of town.
Yes,
it was lovely, great atmosphere, and I highly recommend if anybody's just up here visiting from either overseas or from any of the North America branches to connect with the folks here and come watch a match. It was honestly fantastic.
agreed.
Yeah, really well done.
Okay, and obviously we have another meetup planned in April in Sunderland, though. So hopefully we'll start to get events firmed up for National Fans Day.
Yeah, that's supposed to be. It's as you know, it's April 15th. Pete went the first one in 2020, and it's just honestly well done. And Gavin, you and I have had these conversations over the last few years. Realistically, no matter what, in week in and week out, we may be disappointed with the play, but it's very difficult to be disappointed with the fan base, whether it's in the United Kingdom or here. Everybody just has always treated me with just open arms. It's a real credit to the fan base.
Will the Ellington branch of SAFC be holding any events this season?
We're in the midst of a potential life-changing event, so we're waiting to see how things go with where we're going to be located. Virginia move. So it's up in the air. We hope to do something maybe on a smaller scale, but we hope to have you come up.
I'll make the drive up for an Ellington event. I'll even do pink slices.
We were just talking about that, yeah. But it's always a good time when you get together with other fans, and it just makes a difference.
No, definitely. It's definitely the one thing, being the only Sunderland fan in the area, that I do miss having the banter, which is why I enjoy doing the podcast so much. It gives me an opportunity to stay in touch with other fans around the country. So I definitely enjoy doing these, and I'll keep them going. We have one more to go next week before the break. But John, Pete, thank you very much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having us.
Before we go, we have our charity bet, and we have to work out. So Birmingham, I think, is Birmingham an away fixture? Is it home? Friday the 11th. No, it's away at Birmingham.
Yeah.
So it's a 3:00 kickoff for us. So John, Pete, give me a prediction.
We're taking it 2-1.
Oh no, I want predictions from each of you.
Yeah, 2-1 Sunderland.
2-1. I'm gonna go 1-0 Sunderland. I think they figure out the defense and sneak one in.
And I think I'm going to be the party pooper in the group. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Oh, all right.
I don't think we have enough movement, and I don't think Mowbray's capable of changing that in a week. So we got 2 wins and a draw predicted. One thing I do want to point out for any fan watching, if you want to get a hold of one of the match worn shirts today, the club are auctioning them off with proceeds going to the British Legion. I'm currently leading the Jewison Bennett bid at $229. So keep your bloody hands off that one. Having got the autograph shirt from you earlier in the season, I've decided I definitely want more. So even if it means that I have to buy the match issue Jim Atete shirt, which is only at $89 at the moment, I will make sure one of these little bad boys is mine.
Oh, fantastic.
All right, guys, that's all we have time for this week at our Stars and Stripes and Maple Syrup. Thanks again to Pete and to John for coming out and putting the laptop on in a bar. I'll let you guys go back to have a couple of pints, and we'll see you all next week after the Birmingham City match. Thanks for stopping by.